Hello, Vinita. Nice to see you here at the London conference, London MoneyLive conference. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much. Nice to see you too, Dumitru.
How is the conference for you?
It's going really well, actually. There is quite a few presentations I've attended, and it's always nice, right, to meet people from the industry, different vendors, and see what's going on.
A lot of companies, a lot of fintech companies, banks, and so on, they all the times in the process of continuous transformation. Sometimes when they just start, sometimes in the middle of they're evolving. But what's from your perspective, from your experience, what's the most struggling things with what they're struggling mostly during a transformation?
I think it depends on who's trying to transform. So I worked with the likes of Monzo, who's trying to transform in terms of trying to go from a single market to multi-market, through to big banks such as Barclays or HSBC who are trying to transform in terms of getting a digital presence. So the biggest thing that people usually struggle with is trying to get that clarity in terms of, here's where we are, here's where we want to get to, and then get hearts and minds engaged into that's what that end picture looks like, because everyone's got a different view of what we're trying to do.
During transformation appears different challenges in different organizations. Some challenges can be, people just don't want this transformation. Sometimes it can be the absence of money for making a transformation. From your perspective and from what you saw, what are the most common situations where these transformations can become a challenge?
I think if you look at large organizations or actually even small ones, one of the most common challenges is that everyone wants something different. So you could say, we want to have an elephant, but everyone's got a different vision of what that elephant looks like. And then you've got a very complex set of people underneath where everyone's got something different to achieve out of that. So there will be a set of people really aligned to say, yeah, I totally want this. Another set of people say, well, actually, I want to slow this down as much as possible because this is not something in my interest. So as often you'll see with automation or technology, there'll be individuals saying, well, what does that actually mean for me? So the most common challenges are that different people want to get different things from that change. And therefore, they come at it from a very different objective. Some trying to say, I want to do this as cheaply as possible. Another set of people saying, I want to do this as nicely as possible. And you've got, everyone might appear to be aligned, but they're thinking very differently about the same change.
And also very often very different visions between leadership and management and those who implement these transitions.
Absolutely.
How to unite them, how to align them into one single, stream?
I think the biggest thing to align them is to call out the elephant in the room. So a lot of times people just won't say it, and they're very different things, right? So it could be cultural inhibitions where people just don't want to speak up, saying, here's leadership who wants to do X, Y, Z, and I don't want to be the one telling leadership saying, what, that doesn't make sense. So how you'd align this is really build that, what you say, psychological safety, where different people can understand the change, but also talk about how they feel about it, to say, well, you know what, Dumitru, you're trying to achieve that, but actually here's a different way to look at this. So one of the simple examples I've seen in a large bank is a certain stakeholder wants to get the payment proposition out, like international payments. Whereas someone wants to say, hurry up and get it to market. There's another set of people who say, well, listen, I need a little more funding, but what I can get to the market will be more future-proof because it'll be compliant with ISO 2002 and, whatever else, so 20022. Like, it is the better way to do it, but it will take you 3 more months to do. So the biggest things with transformation are to say, well, can we all get into a room or on a call and agree, like, what do we want to do? Because a lot of time is then spent on, you want to do it cheap and get to the market as quick as possible, or you want to take some more time and do it right first time. And those are the nuances that people sort of tend to not even call out or acknowledge, which is where organizations either get there quickly, but then build a large bill, or take a long time to get there.
What are the most obvious signs and steps that are happening when a company needs a transformation from your perspective?
The first sign is always the customer. Because if you've gone out with a product or a proposition, whatever it is that you've got out there, and your customer is losing interest, or you've come up with something and customer just doesn't want to buy it and say, well, this isn't what I was looking for. That's the first sign. The other sign is in the back end to say, well, actually, my customer is delighted, but I could have done this at, 10 pounds earlier, but now it's taking me 20 pounds because I'm struggling to keep up with the customer demand. And therefore, there's something in the way I'm doing this, which isn't quite right. And it's connecting the two to say, here's what the end game is, but here's how I'm getting to the end game. And the two aren't meeting in the middle. So something needs to change. Now, what needs to change needs a lot of considered thought. To say, I might be doing something really well, Dumitru, but if you say, oh, Vinita's done a lot of reading, but this answer is not meeting my requirement, right? So you can be very efficient, deploy all the AI and, make everything cheaper, faster, better. But if the customer doesn't want it, you got a problem.
And it's important to keep a dialogue with the customer all the times.
It's important to understand what they want. And in that, when you have to then go by the obvious, but then double click on what is going on. So if I make a pastry and the customer is not interested in the pastry, it's either that the pastry is really horrible or the customer's got a better pastry next door. So you've got to then do your root cause analysis to say what's going on. Has the customer gone off pastries because now they prefer cakes, or they prefer something completely different? But it's not very obvious, and that will then define what you need to transform.
Well, thank you very much for these insights and for your thoughts. Happy to see you here at this conference, and I wish you to have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.